In this video, we will be talking about graphing horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontal lines will be in the form of y equals some number, where b in this case is any real number. Vertical lines will be in the form x equals some number. What makes these lines special is we can identify them by noting that there's only an x or only a y. There isn't both x and y. The way we graph them is one of two ways. You can either graph them by putting them directly on the graph or using a table as we did previously. We want to find values that will make this equation true. Since there is no x, we can only pick y values. And in this case, I can only pick -3. That's the only value I could plug in for y to make it true, because -3 equals -3. I can pick any x values I want. And this equation will still be true. If I go to plot these points, I'll run +2, -3, and then 0, so I'm not moving left or right, -3, and then -3, -3. We can see here that I ended up with a horizontal line. And again, the way I could have graphed this is just said, okay, y equals -3. I will cut through the y-axis, so I go down -3 on the y-axis, and I cross it. It's going to end up perpendicular to the y-axis. Same thing here. If I wanted to do this one that way, I go to the x-axis now, because this is an x equals equation. So on the x-axis I go over 2, and then I will cross the x-axis. I will end up perpendicular to that x-axis. If you're afraid that you're going to get confused, you're going to mix up these two, always go back to making a table. What will make this equation true? 2. X has to always be 2. And I can pick any values I want for y. I would go to plot them. I'd say +2, -1. There's a point. +2, 0. There's a point. +2, +4. There's a point. Still going to end up in a vertical line. So x equals a number will be vertical. Y equals a number will be horizontal. Cutting through the y-axis if it's a y equals, and cutting through the x-axis if it's an x equals. Alright, let's look at the two on the right. Same thing. This is a y equals, so I go over to the y-axis. It will cross at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to cross here. It'll end up being perpendicular to that y-axis. I could also make a table. And I know that y has to always be 5. I can fill in any values here I want. And it's going to end up being a horizontal line. Now this last one was kind of tricky. It kind of looks like it's in slope-intercept form or something like that. But the trick to recognizing that this is a special equation is that there is no y. There's only an x here. So I'm going to solve this equation for x. I'm going to get it alone so I can graph it. So first I subtract 1 from both sides. And then I divide by 2. And x will equal -2. So on the x-axis, I would go back 2, and it's going to cross here. It's going to end up being perpendicular to the x-axis. Again, if you prefer, you can always make a table, and I know that x has to always be -2, and I could pick any y values to see that it's going to end up vertical.